Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We're in for another exciting podcast this week. We're going to swing up into Pennsylvania and speak with Arlene Bara, who, let's just get right into this. An amazing story. So without further ado, Arlene, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
John, good morning. I'm very excited to be a part of your podcast today. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, you're very welcome. It's great to have you. And I believe I came across your comment on one of our Facebook ads, and I said to myself, okay, I've got to get Arlene on this call because according to what you wrote, you were having some serious challenges with your 12-year-old. So let's first of all talk about this mare. You know, what things were you dealing with prior to coming across the Equinety? So let's give a little background on her.
Okay, John, sure. I have a 12-year-old mare here. She's a registered solid paint roan, beautiful little mare, and I've had her for 11 years. Within the last 3 years, she developed a cough, and, not being too alarmed. I didn't think too much about it, but then it got progressively worse. So, of course, I called the vet. Over the 3-year period here now, I've had 3 different vets that I have consulted with. One said she has COPD. One says that she has allergies, which I started a series of serums for. She has so many different allergies that the serums I just didn't seem to want to work. She had been tested positive for Lymes disease. We live in the mountains here in the Poconos, and the ticks up here are pretty bad. So I guess it's inevitable at some point. But she did test positive for Lyme's, and I know that Lyme's disease is one of those hidden sicknesses that can, pop up in your immune system at any time and just do battle.
Sure.
So she did come down with some pneumonia. She was treated for the pneumonia, but unfortunately wasn't healed from it. And she carried that sickness for a couple months until finally the third vet that I had came and kind of knocked that out of her. But when I saw your ad, my mare was still coughing and very lackluster. She had lost a lot of weight. Her breathing was labored, and I just was feeling very heavy-hearted. And your ad popped up as I was on Facebook, and I was reading it, and I saw some of the comments, and I'm like, that's interesting. I think that looks like maybe it's worth a try, And
sure.
So I got it, and it came at a good time because she was suffering again with some inflammation in her legs, and it was so bad that I had a hard time getting her to come out of her stall. That's how bad it was. And I rubbed her down, and I put liniment on her and wrapped her up, and I started her on this Equinety, and I'll tell you what, after like 3 days, that inflammation disappeared, and it hasn't come back. And she's been on this Equinety now for, 2 months?
Yeah, 2 months. So, but just backing up just a little bit here. So everything's kind of hunky-dory, business as usual every day. But she developed a cough. Then she tested positive for Lyme's. And then she had pneumonia. And her allergy panel was everything allergic that you can think of. And it all just seemed kind of hit over, what kind of a time frame was this?
Well, this is going now, I want to say, starting on the 3rd year.
3rd year, okay. And so you were doing the injections with the allergies, the allergy serum for a year and a half. Did you see much of a difference with that at all?
I kind of thought maybe I did in the beginning. And But, after a year and a half, I was looking for a little bit more of a result. And I wasn't getting it. I mean, I would saddle her up to ride her, and at a walk she's fine, but as soon as I'd start to work her, she'd start coughing. So I was really, really discouraged and felt really, really bad for her. And it was to the point, John, a couple of times, I'm thinking, winter's coming. This horse just is suffering so much. It's one thing after another. What do I do with this horse? I'm retired. My husband had a stroke. I have another horse. I can't afford to keep throwing money at this horse that's not going to get any better. And I thought seriously a couple times, John, of putting her down.
Yeah, I mean, and it's something, in that scenario, it's a logical thing to have to think about. And so fortunately, as you were saying, you came across the Equinety product. So when you initially ordered 30 days worth, and when you received it, so you walk out and see that her legs were just super swollen, and then she also had some stroke or Bell's palsy type of thing. Tell us about what happened there.
Yes. Well, I brought her in from the pasture one day and her lip was hanging down, and I'm thinking, that's a little weird. And I didn't think too much more about it because she's kind of a lazy horse as it is, and sometimes those lazy horses, their lips hang down, But this was really hanging. And then I noticed her ear was drooping too, and I never experienced that in my lifetime of having horses. So of course I called the vet, and the vet came out and he said that he thought it was botulism and that I needed to go and get this special serum for her. There's also no test for botulism, he tells me. Mm-hmm. So here I was torn again. Oh my gosh, she's sick again. What if she does have botulism? What if she doesn't have it? Do I take a chance that it's not botulism?
Right.
So what do? At 11 o'clock at night, I pack up my husband. We drive into Jersey, 2 hours away. 1 o'clock in the morning, we pick up the serum. We pay $1,000 for it. We come home and pay the vet to come the next morning and give it to her. And, the vet bills were crazy.
Right.
And did all of that go away? No. So I don't know. It was just another thing for this poor horse to go through. And in my own research and whatnot, I'm thinking maybe it wasn't botulism. It was Bell's palsy, or she had a stroke or something.
So with all of this going on, you saw the ad with our stuff on Facebook, you ordered the product, and it just so happened the legs were swollen. So you gave her the product, 3 days, the swelling completely gone.
Completely gone. Mm-hmm.
And the swelling hasn't come back it's been 60 days now, a little over.
It has not. It has not come back. She is gaining weight. Her attitude is better. She's eating her food better. Her ears coming back up. She seems to have better balance. She is running in the pasture now.
How long has it been since you've seen her do that?
Months.
Yeah. Since before.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, she would try to run, but it was sideways.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, that is heartbreaking.
Yeah, it was very sad and very, very hard emotionally to watch because she's relatively still young,
Sure. Well, and I think it's important to point out for those tuning in for the first time, here we have a situation where, you've had this horse for 11 years. You were doing every possible thing that you knew to do, went through 3 different vets, going up a big hill here. And it doesn't seem like a whole lot is working in your favor, or her favor, rather. Needless to say, I'd probably at your wit's end. And, we hear stories like this very, very often, and we're blessed in the fact that we have a product that works so well. But I think it's important, the Equinety product, it's 100% pure amino acids. There's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. A serving size is 5.2 grams, which is not quite a tablespoon, just used as a top dressing. And what these amino acids are specifically formulated to do is give the body what it needs to help heal itself at a cellular level by stimulating the pituitary gland. And that's what releases the hormones. And the body knows exactly where to send those hormones for the healing. So is it a cure-all? Is it a miracle thing? No, it's not any of those things. Used in combination with other things that you're doing, it's a dynamite combination. In this case, you were pretty much at your wit's end. You had tried everything that was recommended to you by 3 different vets, and fortunately you came across this product and it did exactly what you're looking for, and the horse is now well on its way to recovery. Have you been able to do any riding at this point now that she's coming back? Are you still...
Well, I think that she is rideable. I mean, I've been lunging her. My problem is the weather right now. We have almost a foot of snow, and I do not have an indoor arena. I have an outdoor arena. So the footing isn't conducive to me riding her. I mean, I wouldn't want her to slip or and, have any kind of a setback. But yes, I think that, a moderate level of riding is quite possible.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Now, I know with Lymes, and you were telling me a little bit more about this because since she has it, you've done your research on it, and it's kind of one of those hidden things that can pop up here or there, and it attacks the immune system, and that's what you believe was causing the swelling. Not 100, maybe not 100%, but that's what you think that it was. Has there been any other things that have popped up from the Lymes that you know of? And
no, she seems like she's on the road to recovery, and it's just a pleasure to see her first thing in the morning, pop her head up and say good morning, and it's heartwarming.
Yeah, that's great. Well, and I know we've had quite a few questions with people that have asked how this helps with Lyme, so I'm glad that we have you on here. And again, this is one situation. Not all situations might be the same, but from the few people that we have had feedback with Lymes, this seems to really support and benefit that nasty disease. Well,
it attacks the immune system, so your product helps battle that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely helps the immune system.
Yes, if the horse has a healthy immune system, when the Lyme comes out of dormancy and it wants to attack, it's going to have a harder time because the antibodies are there and ready to fight it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I tell you, I think the people tuning in to this podcast, Arlene, are going to really appreciate your time on here, and maybe if they're in a similar situation, that might give them some encouragement to give the product a try as well. If there's anybody tuning in that might be a little bit still on the fence about whether they should try it or not, what advice would you have for them?
I would say give it a try. You've got nothing to lose. It's so much less expensive than vet bills, and it's all natural. You can't go wrong. Yeah.
And again, we stress, make sure you seek the advice of a vets and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, this can be used along with any medications or anything that's shown. I mean, they're amino acids, building blocks of protein, so there's no negative side effects in that manner. But
and John, can I just add that the third vet that I consulted with was here after I started at the Equinety, and I told her about the product, and she was very receptive. She looked at the bottle. She wrote items down, and that impressed me because not all vets are gung-ho to be receptive with certain supplements.
I would agree with that. They're sometimes a tough nut to crack, but we do have quite a few veterinarians that carry our product and carry it in their practice. So yeah, I guess it depends on their background and how open they are to things. But Arlene from Pennsylvania, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story here on the Equinety Podcast.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you again for the invite, and I'm going to continue using your product.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.